Hey guys, it's Jen from Grow with Jen. I wanted to talk with you today about Google Tables. I know a lot of people have shiny app syndrome. And what shiny app syndrome means is that there's something cool on the internet, a new app, new software, and you immediately have to try that out and try to figure out if you could take your current business and shove it into a new box, because let's face it, we all have free time to move our software around and play with things. I know that the reason shiny app syndrome exists is because people are always feeling like there's got to be a better way to run my business, and especially if you have a complex architecture. Sometimes it would be nice to put everything in one box. I have not seen an all-in-one that actually does everything that you need it to do. There are some cool tools that get close, but as businesses are very specific to specific needs and have specific goals, and every business owner is a little bit different, their culture is different, their personalities are different, what they value is different in terms of productivity, automation, personality, personal touch, things like that. It's really hard to find something that's going to do everything that you want in a business. And still on the search for it. If I find it, I will let you know. And if I build it, I'll let you know. In the meantime, there has been some chatter in the Airtable community about tables, which is a new tool coming from Google. And it's from Area 120. Area 120 is like their development thing, and I am not tech enough to tell you what that means in layman's terms, but basically Google comes out with stuff and sees if it flies or not. I will tell you, I always get nervous about what Google does in terms of trying to have apps that emulate or try to replace other apps. I think that Google has a lot of good things that it does really, really well, like Gmail, really, really good. G Suite, pretty dang good. Google Voice, my favorite. Because I run a lean business. I have just a couple team members and I like to have everything all in one. The downside of Google is that if you have a cool app and you as a business owner or you as a sales team or you as a couple people in your organization want to use it, if you're in Google, everyone pays for it. I had this situation with Google Voice recently. My team members need to have Google Voice in order to do two-factor authentication sometimes to get into apps and setting up software. So everybody needs to have a phone number to text. And I am very, very, very passionate about not having your personal phone number kind of used as business. While I will say I use my handset for Google Voice, I also use the desktop app, and I have Do Not Disturb, and I have pretty strict hours on it because I do believe in work-life balance, especially in these times where like I live, work, breathe, eat, and sleep in the same area as my kids are doing homework and trying to have fun and trying to be kids and all of the things. So I do need to have, especially when my office is 3 feet from our family room, it's really important to make sure that there is a work-life balance and some boundaries. So I definitely think that your personal phone number is just that, your personal phone number, and Google Voice is, or any of the other apps that are out there, are great to have that delineation between this is my work time and this is my, personal time, and I have a voicemail and I have text message for a reason. You can work with me asynchronously, right? So that's my tangent about Google Voice. The problem is that if you wanted to have Google Voice on your G Suite as part of your apps and having some of the more advanced features, you have to pay for everybody on the on your G Suite account, which isn't that big of a deal when you're a larger business. When you're a smaller business, like every dollar counts, right? Like let's be realistic. If all of my money that I make during the month goes into software, not a profitable business. So everybody is using Google Voice on their Gmail accounts. But it's very important to keep this in mind when you're looking at apps for your business and things like that, is that sometimes not everybody in the organization needs the app to work. So for example, currently I'm the only person meeting with clients and meeting video calls currently. If my team has a video call, they're usually meeting with me. So I have the video calling account and I invite them into the account. So it's really important for me to have a good video system. I meet with all of my clients either on the phone or mostly on video. So it's really important to have a good video calling app. So I was using Google Meet for the last couple months because I was very upset with Zoom. They charged me for something that they weren't supposed to, and they ignored me for 4 months. I understand that there's stuff going on, and my $40 is just not is in the noise. I'm not an enterprise customer because I have one account, but I do refer people to Zoom constantly, and I actually went back to Zoom because the problem I was having was that um, the fact that Google Meet, in order to record and to save your calls, you had to go to the enterprise version of G Suite, which is fine, which means that I have to like double or triple my monthly cost per user. But then that would mean that I'm paying for 3 to 4 people in my team as opposed to just one person. And so I'm paying for all these people who aren't using the service at a higher level just so that I can have access to recording meetings, which is really important. My kids also use Google Meet for their school, and there's some functionality that just isn't there yet. You aren't able to raise your hand as a participant and kind of see in a more linear fashion notes and things like that and what the participants are doing. So I think that while Google Meet is a nice tool for kind of just casual hangouts and things like that, which is where it came from, right? The problem is that it doesn't have some of the functionality that you would need from a professional meeting service, or just, even for educational. I think educational, it's not quite there yet. And I know they're building things, and I try to give people the benefit of the doubt, but if I'm paying per head for my team and I'm drastically increasing my software cost versus just paying $15-16 a month for Zoom, I'm going to make I'm going to make the decision to use Zoom. And then if there's only 2 team members, I'm still saving money. So it really is a cost benefit analysis when it comes to software. And sometimes the pricing models don't work. So this is why I like things like Airtable, for example, because I'm able to only pay for the people that matter. So myself and my project manager are the only ones in Airtable. Everybody else works in Asana. And I've actually gone back and forth with Asana paying versus not paying, just because some of the features for a smaller team are a little bit of overkill. But I see some value in having the custom field. So it's always a trade-off. And as anyone on my team will tell you, I change my mind a lot. And this is the problem with being a business that works with software all day long, is that we're constantly changing and adjusting and doing all the things, right? So anyway, that's my tangent on what the pricing model is. So I don't know what the pricing model is currently for what it will roll out to be. It just says $10 per month. It doesn't say per person, which might be nice. Until, Google was having Meet for free, which is, I will take free any day. But then they decided at the end of this month that they were going to start charging if you wanted to use it, use any of the features, basically, just to, even to use Google Meet, you had to have the second tier of Google Suite, G Suite. So it's important to really keep in mind, it's nice when you're scaling to have the ability to kind of grow into your software and start from lower price points. And then like after a while, you're like, I've already paid for it. I don't care. I will pay all the money to not have to move my stuff. But I think that, the amount of information that you can keep, just looking at the pricing model, if you're paying $26 a month per head, per month, or you can pay like $20 to $24 a month for Airtable, you're getting like 50,000 rows and unlimited tables, where I think the limit of tables is a little concerning at this point. Also, the attachment storage seems a little low for the free plan, but you are able to do automations here. So if you're a small team, if you're just trying to do your marketing analysis and some of that kind of thing, or listening on social media, it might be helpful. But the actions are nice, but I know, especially as you have more volume in your business, or even if you have you're running your Google Analytics and pulling all 5,000 links per month, then you're going to run out of actions. And actions could just be handling information. So I use a lot of Airtable automations to handle records as they come in from Jotform. So Jotform sends a interface data from outside of a business into the database. It cleans it, and then once it's an Airtable, then you can sort it and assign it to the right person depending on what you're doing. On the back end of my website, my contact form is an Airtable form, and then it also has an automation to kind of sort and manage and sometimes reply to contact requests. So that's something that I like to do in Airtable. And yes, I am paying per head, so it gets a little expensive. Free actions is nice, especially if you're just trying to try it out. And then again, pricing, again, it says $10 a month. I'm not sure if it's per person. I haven't tried, and I just wanted to look at this today. I literally just opened it up. So here is your tables, and it has a very similar user interface to your Gmail and things like that. So everything is new, plus for new, just like Google Files, Google Drive. So here's your home, and then workspaces is, it looks like I only have one workspace right now, and that probably could be, it doesn't say. So it's pretty limited in what the features and benefits are currently in Google. But again, it's like anything else. Like what's written on the label is not always what you're going to use software for. I never look at labels. I look at features, benefits, access points, what works with Zapier, what works with Integromat, how easily can I migrate data. This is a really big deal, especially as I work with agencies and work with businesses that are trying to migrate from other CRMs and things like that. We run into this thing all the time where we're not able to download information easily out of a software. So you might be able to get like a very small piece of information. You might get to know what your customer list is, but like all of the user generated comments and information, and please don't get me started on Trello, becomes this huge master migration process. And it's very frustrating. So I think that if you're having shiny app syndrome and you're trying all the different things, the first thing you want to do is make sure how easy it is to get the data out of the thing that you're currently using. I am an evangelist for Airtable. I think it's one of the coolest tools in the market right now. But if something better comes along, something better is going to come along, right? I just don't know right now that Google is the thing that's going to come along and make it better. But the thing is that it's nice to have the ability to like take stuff out if you don't want to do it, right? It's just really important because it's your data, right? And especially if you're using experimental tools like Google Tables, you want to be able to, like, when they give you that 3-month warning that they're killing it, you want to be able to be like, okay, it's going to be a pain to reset up my structure, my architecture, but at least I can get all the information out of it. So it's really important to, when you're looking at software, to make sure that you can migrate. Very important. I've just seen so many businesses get hindered and hamstringed and be like, oh, I can't move this other software, which I know is better for my business because I just can't afford or have the energy or have the time or really have the resources, because it's going to cost somebody time. It's going to cost somebody money to get the information out of your software if you can't download it in the spreadsheet. Let me tell you. So a spreadsheet is your friend. And so that's what I do like about Google right now. It is a spreadsheet. I have not tried downloading the information yet. That would be a good. How do I export to Sheets? So yes, this has an export function. So very nice. Sheets, you can always download as a CSV file. So if you try to move out of Airtable, hate it, you can always turn a sheet into a CSV file and upload it back to where it belongs. Just saying. So here's, I did follow, there's some cool templates in Google Tables. There's bot samples, there's feature playgrounds to help you get understanding. There is some color coding and stuff like that. So here's like a simple task tracker. I'm probably going to blow through all of my tools right away. And then here's your list. It's color coded. I will say that the color coding is much more akin to Google's user interface in general, white background, colors, things like that. So you are going to get a little bit nicer toolkit. People do have some problem with Airtable's user interface. So it's just a different tool, right? So it looks a little bit different. This looks more like a spreadsheet. But Google Sheets in general, the problem with using Google Sheets in automation is that you're not able to adjust your spreadsheet after you've set up your integration. So I've had this trouble over and over again. Businesses in general are super have to be really agile. So they always change their minds because you're kind of, as a business, you're kind of listening, you're doing something, you're listening to how it reacts, you make the changes, you adjust, you kind of keep moving. You're never in a solid state, which is the hardest part of architecture, is that you're never in a solid state, because things change. Your business model changes, weird mass problems happen, the economy changes, your customers change, your, how you, regulations change, like that pestle analysis that you're constantly doing when you're planning a business has to kind of be running in the background at all times, right? You're constantly adjusting, refining, checking, cheating into the next phase of your business, instead of just kind of like, okay, my business is perfect, I don't have to do anything, I'm done. That's not happening. Okay, let's be realistic. Your business is always going to change. So having something that's very structured would be nice, but it's not realistic. So Google Sheets is a nice spreadsheet. The problem is that when you're setting up Zaps and Integromat and things like that, it looks at what column number you're looking at, right? So it's like, okay, column A is the information that I'm pulling in Zapier, and it's going to affect column B. Well, what happens if you add a column B in between column A and column B currently? Now it's column A, B, and C. And so what used to be B is now C, but Zapier is still looking at the second column in Google Sheets. So you can't change anything, and you can add it to the back end, but it still breaks stuff. And that is the bane of everyone's existence, is like, I got this architecture in place, everything's great, and I gotta add a period to something, and then everything falls apart. And you're just like, this is why we plan ahead of time and we do all the structure and the planning and stuff like that. But it is, you have to be agile. You have to keep moving. Things change. You need one more piece of data, and things just break. So this is the one thing that Google Sheets didn't do very well. And most, even if you're using Integromat, you can use Excel spreadsheets. And I think it's the same thing. Looks like what column number you're looking at. It doesn't care what the column is. Doesn't care what the header is. Does not care. It looks at that column. Airtable has a dynamic connection to a field, saying, so if this is the field that you're connecting to, it doesn't matter where you move it. And, I'm assuming that's the same thing for Google Tables, is that the dynamic connection between the two fields, right? The field and the data that you're trying to adjust in Zapier. So it's important to, make sure that these things work and that you can move stuff around, because you will move stuff around. You try not to change like the interfaces, and you try not to change some of the things that are going on, but you might do more metric processing, or you might be pulling in more data from other points to kind of create a bigger picture. So while your interfaces, your forms on your website get linked to your database, you might be throwing in more information from Google Analytics, or you might be trying to create more formulas, or if you're using the Google Maps API to figure out where the location of all of your people in your CRM are. It's really important to be able to kind of fold in more pieces of information, which Google Sheets does not allow you to do. So that is why you want to make sure that you're doing that. And that was a whole tangent, by the way. But it's important to see, like, the interface is important, and then the dynamic connection for automation, because automation is really what I'm really passionate about, is the cross-platform automation. Because even if you can create an invoice in Google Tables, if you can create an invoice in Airtable, you got to actually accept payment from someone. You have to have a payment processor, whether it's PayPal or whether it's Stripe. You have to have something to actually take that money from somebody, even though you present them with an invoice. If you were a small business that only takes checks, fine. If you only take wire transfers, fine. But if you need to process a credit card or have somebody put in their banking information and actually have that software go in and take money from them, most of these tools are not going to do that out of the box. Contracting software. There's different contracting software out there. I usually use SideNow. You can even use JotForm in a pinch. But even the form that I'm seeing in a lot of these software spreadsheet types tools don't have that actual signature block yet. And it's also just because there's a lot more, you have to capture the IP address, and you have to kind of have a little bit more information to get those signatures. So payment processing and signatures are still not there yet. I wouldn't be surprised if Airtable comes up with something like that, or, they're right now it's basically integrating with other software. But I'm seeing it trying to kill Zapier personally. The thing is that you want to make sure that all those things that you need, they kind of connect with each other and talk with one another, as opposed to just doing really cool things in a silo. which is a lot of software. Or, you have a lot of software that kind of sort of integrates with other tools, but doesn't actually do all the things that you need to do, just kind of some of the things. So, it's important to look at it. The user interface is still very important. I think that if you don't like staring at something all day, you're not going to use it. Adoption is super important in a business, whether it's 5 people, 10 people, 2 people, 1 person. If you don't want to open it every day and you hate it and it hurts your eyes, it's not cool, right? So I personally have issues with like a lot of white background. So this is probably a little bit harder on my eyes, but I could also use the dark mode in Google if I really wanted to. I haven't tried it yet, so don't quote me on that. So, this is, nice. I will say that the comments are a little clunky. And you kind of see them here. It's, I like the ability to kind of explode out data. This is nice because you can like work on each record individually, which is similar to Airtable. I feel like Airtable, though, it does a better job of like exploding out the information and then allowing you to kind of retract and things like that. I haven't tried the linked records yet, so I haven't looked at it. Like I literally just opened this up today. I just want to make sure that we're talking about things, because a lot of times we're like, oh, that software doesn't exist. Or, oh, that's a great software, but we're not talking about it because we're talking about this software. We want to make sure that we're constantly reviewing software, and it is a lot to keep up with. There's constant updates. Airtable did a huge update last Monday. So it is a lot of work, and this is why you hire people who do software, because their job is to not only build stuff for you and do it for you, but to stay on top of trends. And it's not like the Wizard of Oz, where like don't look at what's behind the curtain, because oh my gosh, we have to be able to say like, hey, this is working now, this is what we're using, and if you want to wait 6 months and see what's better and do it then, fabulous. But don't sit in this place in your business where you're constantly waiting for the next best thing and never acting and kind of making a decision and putting your flag down and saying, this is what we're using, whether you like it or not. Because at the end of the day, it really is super, super important to just kind of do stuff in business and know that things are going to change, and you're going to have to kind of be agile and kind of just adopt new strategies and kind of hope that the software that you're picking does the cool things that you're going to need to do in 10 months. So don't wait for Google Tables to be really cool before you make the decision and then start to work on your architecture, because by the time it's stable and out of Area 120 or killed off, like there's going to be more stuff on the market. Your business is going to be months down the road, and you're like, I should have just put something in, anything in. Something in. So, just really think about what you need now and what you're hoping to need in 5 years, and, hope that that's enough. The cool thing is that software, if you pick the right software, it's going to constantly improve and constantly update and constantly do all the things. So, you want to make sure that you're backing the right horse in that matter. Airtable has a lot of money dumped into it. But doesn't mean it's, unfailable, right? Like the Titanic was like unsinkable, right? But it means that, right now it's a good agile tool that's doing some cool stuff. And, the fact that Google's coming out with a table to try to kill it means that it's kind of scary, right? So anyway, so that's kind of the, user interface. There is this kind of thing here. And then here is the grid layout, and here's a Kanban. You can also do a maps layout, which is probably comparable to an Airtable Google Maps block. I haven't set up any addresses in here yet, so it's probably not a good tool, and I haven't put the Maps API in. So, but in the meantime, I did set up a bot. A bot allows you to kind of transfer information, like a chat bot, or even like this example is to, let me show you. I set up the basic table, which is a simple talk, new webhooks for chat, Slack, and Zapier. Only 1 cup of coffee today. So I created a bot. And so what this bot is I created a little team thing, and Rebecca hates me because she always gets all the notifications. So basically, I created a little chat bot that says, when something happens in the done column, it gets checked. Then I want to send to a webhook, which is in chat. You can create webhooks in here and stuff like that. Here. I won't. You can create the webhook there. And then what happens is that you send it to the webhook, and then you get a post with JSON. And then what happens is that you can send a text, meaning like a text string, to the chat, which says this variable, which is the instructions variable. I could also send a screenshot, and then also like the created time, completion time, update time, all that stuff. And then I can also put by variables updater name. It's me. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So what's going to happen is what you do is I'm going to mark this add parameter named text and hit checkbox. And then the bot should fire. New message. So there you can see that my parameter named text and set the notification contents, which is the one that I checked, complete by GenRed. And you can see the date and time. Hi, baby. So it's kind of cool. I see some cool things. I would probably say that I would do something similar in Airtable. The nice thing is that the template actually told you what to do in order for it to happen. So, it's nice to have tools that kind of give you some structure. I think that, Airtable has some really good templates, but it doesn't have door closed. Toddlers stealing things. It was nice to be able to follow like a 7-step process and have something working immediately. So I feel like, Airtable shows you these really cool link tables and you're just like, cool, how do I do that? Where this is how you get this to work. So it's nice to have that. And I do think Google does a good job of this because it allows you to kind of see, it kind of gives you some more ideas and more things to think about. It does have forms, which look very similar to Google Forms. And basically it's just built off of the fields in your table. So just like in Airtable, the fields that you create. So again, I think it's an interesting tool. I don't think it's a no. I don't think it's a yes. And I definitely don't think I would start jumping ship immediately. I would want to see what you can do with more of the, so it looks like even with Zapier, you're using webhooks. So if you're not comfortable with webhooks, probably a little bit more complicated than you need it to be. The reason why most people use Zapier and the reason why I advocate for Zapier is that people are kind of able to follow the instructions and build some stuff. It has a very nice graphical user interface. Integromat is like stereo instructions, but it does some really cool stuff. So if you're trying to kind of build some architecture yourself, or if you're still new to the game and you're not quite sure what webhooks are, it's okay. I just think that you have a little bit more, don't know what she's breaking. You have a little bit more ability to build stuff, cool stuff quickly. Whereas, with webhooks, you just have to like know more, right? It's not hard. It's just knowing more. So it's important to, see what your comfort level with technology is too, right? Like it's nice to be able to tell you step by step what to do, but like if you're like looking at this screen, you're like, Jen, what the heck does that mean? I probably couldn't explain it to you properly, so I'm not going to. Because I've been using Zapier for entirely too long, and it's much easier to just use the tools that connect with Zapier and call it a day. But that doesn't mean that it's not good to use and it's not good to learn. And I think especially if you're trying to build an architecture and you're trying to learn architecture, you learn the documentation and you learn what webhooks are and you learn how to use them and stuff like that. But if you're running a business that is not custom architecture, it's okay to use the stuff that gets you there quickly, right? Because your main job is to make money, bring in clients, make money, and not be managing your technology all day. You want to get to a point where you can hire someone to build your technology, and then you want to get to a point where you can have somebody in-house managing your day-to-day technology. I think that is kind of the goal for any business, is that you have an idea, you get a minimum viable product, you get it out the door, you get people to pay for it, and then you start hiring up so that you can, keep being the captain of the ship, and then start hiring people. Like, I know how to market. In a real world, it would be really nice to have a marketing team, right? I know how to build technology, and that's what I do all day. Eventually, I'd like to have more people doing more technology. So it's important because you want to get up and running to understand software and find software that plays well with others. And then you might start building your own custom software, or building your, specifically need, creating architecture specific to your business as you grow. But it's okay to use the easy stuff. If Google Tables is easy enough for you and you just want to build it in here and send some Wave invoices and call it a day, go for it. I'm not here to tell you, oh, you need to use this really expensive software that's very slick. It's important to make sure that you're using the software that you like looking at every single day, that isn't going to get killed off. That's the only thing I would say about Google, is it kills stuff off. Look at killedbygoogle.com. If you just want to make sure that you get a gut check. And then, if you like the Google environment and you just want to do everything in Google, go for it. Just do it, man. I would like to know if like the attachments that I'm putting in here actually go into my Google Drive, because that would be awesome. It's important to have all these pieces of information and know what's really going on. So like, it's nice to be able to pull this open and stuff like that, but I kind of want to just like somewhere else. I'm used to having, a sidebar here that like lets me look at the attachments without like opening stuff up. But again, like, this is all, I'm used to a certain software, and maybe the software is cooler. Don't know. But this is kind of the stuff that I do on a consistent basis to evaluate new software. I sign up for a trial, I check it out, I look at it like, oh, this is really cool, I should probably do this. Or, hey, I don't see anything sexy enough to actually change my mind. And that's okay too. I'm sorry, I don't know what my toddler is doing. But at the same point, like, it's just important to make sure that you are, hey, baby girl. Evaluating stuff, making sure that you are doing the right things for your business. And if there's something that's really going to really change your productivity, increase your business, increase your bottom line, make it easier for your team to move, you should do it. But I wouldn't constantly be looking for bigger or better. I would first maybe focus on improving the tools that you already have before you make that leap to like, my architecture sucks. Now, if you're doing everything on a pencil and paper, you have no idea what your cash flow is, you have no task management software, you're just like running blind, and people are paying you and you don't know why, that's a different conversation. That's when you need to go back and sit there and draw out your systems map, figure out what your business is doing, how you're making money, and start to build in software and tools to make your business run more efficiently so that you're not doing everything by hand. But if you're doing something, partially by hand and partially in a software, and you have enough data to make business decisions in your business and kind of run, even if you take a day off, that is okay. Don't always worry about having the most over-engineered business. Have a business that works for you, that's efficient for your team, and kind of does the thing that you needed to do. So this is my quick-ish, probably like 45-minute rundown of Google Tables. The jury's still out. It just came out. People are talking about it, and I hate saying like, oh, I don't know, it sucks, because it probably doesn't suck. It really comes down to what you need, what your business size is, what functions you need, what your pricing tolerance is, what your risk tolerance is, and go from there. So I hope this has been helpful, and I will be doing some more of these. I want to help demystify what I do. Like, I know reading all the documentation and creating the software and doing all the things is one thing, but like, as a business owner, like, if you have shiny object syndrome, it's important to be able to go into a software, spend 10 minutes on it, and rest your mind that you haven't missed out on anything. If you're not doing that, then, you're sitting up at night thinking like, well, maybe I should use the software. just take it for a test drive. Like, is this cool? Like, can I figure it out? Does it look nice? Do I want to, like, invest the time in learning more about it? That's what you really want to figure out. If, like, your business is really not functioning the way you want it to, and it needs to be more efficient, and you can't keep going the way it is, you're going to have to evaluate software. There's a lot of software on the market. A lot of software does a lot of cool things. What do you need? Depends on your business. But coming down to it and being able to say, okay, this is a new software. What am I looking at? Making quick, you have to be able to make decisions in your business. And part of making decisions in your business is just being able to go and evaluate something agnostically and be like, hey, this is cool. Am I going to use it? Probably not. Or, hey, this is cool. I really need to figure this out because this will, like, revolutionize my business. You have to make sure before you start dumping all your information in here that you're mapping out your flow, mapping out the data that you need, understanding your processes. Like, you can't implement any of this stuff until you have a systems map, until you know your flow, until you have documented your processes and know what your standard operating procedures are in a bubble. So don't start dumping stuff in here. I'm just saying that it's okay to sign up for a free trial, try some stuff out, and be like, hey, this is cool, or good, I know this is not for me. So again, don't spend 45 minutes watching every YouTube video, spending, time talking to demo people and salespeople on the software because they don't know your business. Oh my God, they don't know your business. But I really think it's important to be able to, as a business owner and anybody who's evaluating things for your business, to be able to take this stuff for a test drive. I always get really concerned about software that doesn't let you take it for a test drive, or that needs a very overcomplicated sales team in order to try to explain to you what's going on. Like, I just want to build something and be able to see it in 5 minutes. Like, it was cool to be able to create a chat bot in 5 minutes just to tell me that something was done on my to-do list. What am I going to do with it? Don't know. But it's kind of cool. It's kind of cool to see something, live right away. That's a quick win that makes it, like, a little sticky. If it takes you, like, 16 hours to get something up just to use it to see if it even works for your business, that's a lot of time investment. So I do like the fact that they have templates. I do like the fact that there's some stuff here. I think for a smaller business or somebody who's just a hobbyist trying to figure things out, might be a cool tool. But that's because you have free time and you have the ability to kind of zhuzh. If you don't have time for the zhuzhing, I would hold off on this. I'd wait and see what's going on. I'd see how long, what, Google's putting into it, whether it's just a cool tool that they're trying to build because they think that they want to kill Airtable, or, if they're just trying it out. And if they dump all the resources of Google into it and it doesn't cost a fortune to use, have at it. So it's still early. It just came out. Just like any software, my recommendation is always wait and see, try it out. But I would not start building architecture off of Google's tables right now. I just don't think it's quite there yet. But try it. See if you like it. Talk to you soon.